Welcome to the Ghostly Gallery podcast, a place where we explore the world of horror in film, television, literature, and popular culture. Well, greetings, everyone. Welcome. My name is Bruce Markison. As always, I'm joined by producer and co host Tracy Asteria. Tracy, how are you?
I'm doing good, Bruce. How's everything going tonight?
Good. Well, I'm very excited. I've got a new setup here, new camera, good microphone. The camera is key. Hopefully, I won't look any more like a UHF station back in 1977, Channel 83, something like that. I think it'll be a little clearer, hopefully, what I look like. It was a bit monstrous with that old camera, so I'm trying to improve that.
Nope, the picture is spot on. It sounds great too.
Good. Now, if I can just get some makeup, we'll really be set. I'm also excited, Tracy, because of our guest tonight. This week's guest is a returning guest. His name, Ansel Faraj. Ansel is an award-winning film director, screenwriter, and producer. He's also a self-taught filmmaker, wide catalog of credits that includes Todd Tarantula, Loon Lake, The Nighttime Winds, and the Doctor Mabuse films. Tonight we're going to talk to Ansel about his newest film. It's called The Great Nick D. Now I want to just mention to people it is not a horror film or a sci-fi film. It's more of a comedy drama, but it has received excellent reviews. And it also stars three prominent actors from the Dark Shadows franchise, all from the original Dark Shadows in the late 60s and early 70s. They are Kathryn Leigh Scott, David Selby, and the late Lara Parker. Also in the cast is Nathan Wilson, frequently collaborates with Ansel. He starred in the movie Loon Lake. And also with us as well, very interesting guy, Sam Irvin. He's in the film. Sam's the man who directed Elvira's Haunted Hills, and he's got a new thriller out as well called Nightmare in the Desert. So they're all in the cast of this new film, The Great Nick D. Ansel, congratulations on completing the movie. Welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you guys again for having me.
Well, let's start off by talking about this new film. The Great Nick D is the title. Give us a little bit of a summary of what it's about, because the title itself only tells us a very little of the story.
It's a sweet-natured comedy about a washed-up porn star who's now a Venice Beach nobody, is Nick D. And he goes on this odyssey to restart his mainstream acting career so he could win back his lost love, who is now this Oscar-nominated actress far out of his league and out of his reach. And yeah, it's it is the most different than you'll ever see the Dark Shadows cast. Doing something like this. There's a musical number. There's it's a comedy about a porn star. It's just so left field, but it was a lot of fun to make. A lot of fun to make.
Just to
Oh,
clarify, this is not autobiographical in any way, correct?
Hardly.
Okay.
gosh. Ansel, you and Nathan Wilson wrote this script together. What was the inspiration behind this story?
This was a character that Nate developed in improv years ago, and then when I first met him, he had two ideas. He told me about this haunted cemetery where there was a witch that was beheaded, and she comes back, and that became Loon Lake, our film.
Hmm.
And he goes, and I have this porn star character named Nick Dick, and I just want to do something with him. So I thought he was crazy, but then over a decade plus, we kept talking and developing Nick D's world and his, what does he want in life? And my whole thing was, how did he end up? How did he end up like this guy? He wears leopard and purple, ripped purple pants. He rides around on a razor scooter on the Venice boardwalk. He's got his best friend Aldo, who never speaks and only chews on corn nuts. And I'm like, how does somebody end up like this? And then we just kept talking, and I'm like, oh, he had his heart broken, and that just spiraled him into this personal hell, if you want to call it. And so we just kept, throwing ideas back and forth about it. And yeah, like 15 years later, we finally got the movie made, because Hollywood, they don't make comedies any longer. And we pitched it to many people, and we got a lot of positive response. And this one executive at Sony said, "I love this script, but we don't make this kind of film. You'll have to go independent." And so we did.
It was a great film. I absolutely loved it. You mentioned Nick D's wardrobe. How the heck did you come up with his wardrobe?
That's all Nate. That's all Nate. He's had that. He's had those pants and that leopard coat 15, 16 years. I mean, since I've known him. And yeah, so that was already kind of there. It wasn't much to sort of figure out. So it was reverse engineering of, okay, if that's where he's at, how did we get there? And where's he gonna go?
Oh my gosh, I thought it was perfect. And, the blue suit, was actually another added bonus as well.
Suit. Yeah, that's something that we did come up. That was something we did come up with. What's like the worst thing you could wear to an important meeting? This old crappy pop 90s suit.
I cracked up when I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, what next? The cast that you selected for this film was phenomenal. The energy that everybody had was spectacular. And there's a couple of really standouts that I just want to chat about. So the first mention, I love her to death, Olan Jones, who played Phyllis. She was so funny. She was so quirky, so full of energy. And I just died with her opening scene when she first met Nick. It was just so crazy. Have you ever worked with her before?
No, I've known her for about a decade. I saw her and David Selby do A Delicate Balance, which is the furthest thing from again Nick D of it's Edward Albee drama, but it was one of the best nights of theater I've ever seen. And plus, I grew up in Scissorhands and Mars Attacks and Miracle Mile, so I clearly knew who she was. Truman Show, and so we'd known each other for a long time, and I always I wanted to have her in something. And then when we knew we were going to make the film, I was like, oh my god, this would be a perfect role for Olan. This is perfect. And so I pitched it to her, and she was down for it. And yeah, we were super lucky. I mean, super lucky to have her involved. And yeah, so much fun, so easy to work with. I really hope to work with her again. And she won her first acting award ever in her entire career, Best Supporting Actress, for Great Nick D at the Hollywood Real Independent. And so she was proud of that, and we were very proud that she's had a very illustrious career and won for our film. So
she was amazing. Go ahead.
If I could interject for just a moment, I think she was in a Seinfeld episode. She played a waitress in a diner, and I think it was the Bubble Boy episode, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. My one friend from Michigan, he's obsessed with Seinfeld, and
yeah,
he got very excited. Saw the movie. I mean, she has done so much. So we're very lucky.
Oh yeah, no, she was excellent. Now the character Ned Zimmerman, played by George Russing, he was a really cool choice. When I first saw him at the very beginning, I was like, oh, he resembles Harry Potter. That's so cute. But he and Olan, they worked so well together. The scene with the two of them sitting under the desk giving Nick a call. That was just, I love that one. Can you tell us more about casting him in that role?
I mean, I think this was like his first or second thing. I mean, it's a very big cast. It was bigger, and the
Mm.
movie was nearly 3 hours long, and we cut it down to 94 minutes. So we more than a couple actors did get cut, but I mean, it was like 48 speaking roles, and we saw a lot of people. George submitted. He was one of many guys that submitted, and was just he was an Ed. He was an Ed, and he's very young too. But it's crazy. Nate and I both said, because we've been writing this for 10 years plus, and we're like, we have been wanting to make this movie. As with Todd Tarantula, it's been a lot of false starts, and will this film happen or not? I feel like the movie couldn't have happened until George finally became an adult, because like he is Ned. He is that character. It was as if we wrote it for him. And again, he has a lot of dialogue, and a lot of complicated dialogue, and he never once flubbed. I mean, he impressed everybody on the show, and really young, really good, and he, having him also, he plays Kathryn Leigh Scott's son, and
Mhm.
so their dynamic, watching them, play together, if you want to call it, and her constantly being very motherly and like and there was things that got cut that's in the longer thing, and I think it's on the Blu-ray, of her like
Oh.
fixing his clothes and just being very overprotective, and their whole relationship that they brought to life was really just exciting to watch, just as the observer of the overseer of the thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, he's really good.
Oh,
He's in
yeah. And you mentioned, that some of the footage had gotten cut. So is all the cut footage available on the Blu-ray?
uh I mean, it was like nearly a 3-hour film.
Mhm.
I feel like there's about 30 or 35 minutes of
Oh,
deleted
wow.
footage, which is still
Okay.
not everything. But it is on the Blu-ray. I mean, the Blu-ray is
Mhm.
reloaded. We've got a commentary, we've got the deleted footage, we've got, um, during the pandemic, we were shooting, we call them Nick D shorts, where we were just out on the boardwalk, and and in my mind, it's almost like a documentary style thing of just filming Nick's day-to-day shenanigans. So we've got like 30 or 40 minutes of that. Uh, there's a lot on that Blu-ray. Interviews, and
Okay.
yeah, and it's not streaming, so supporting independent film by buying the Blu-ray. It's a Blu-ray DVD combo pack. So if you don't have a Blu-ray player, the you buy it once and you get a
Mhm.
DVD disc and you get a Blu-ray disc. And
Oh, wow, that's so cool. And is that you can just grab that,
on Amazon
on Amazon?
discount, I mean, pretty much wherever Walmart, Best Buy, Barnes& and Noble, I think, wherever you can buy Blu-rays.
Okay. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Um, oh, thank you. Another person I just kind of wanted to give a little shout out to was Aunt Judy. She was lovely, played by Lisa Blake Richards. She left such a memorable impression with her scene with like the suntan lotion. Have you ever worked with her before?
Yeah, that's Lisa Richards. She was also on Dark Shadows. This is
Mm.
my third, I think, yeah, I think it's the third project we've done. I mean, she played Jerry Lacey's wife in The Last Case of August Harrison, and then she was in the Madame Lesueur short. So yeah, this is our third project. And Aunt Judy was my favorite character to write. I mean, we would be writing, and I'd just be on the floor laughing hysterically. And so yeah, so then I pitched it to Lisa, and she was excited, and that she was just there one day. But I mean, it's she steals the movie. That's like the funniest scene to me. And when it's been screened and stuff, that's like it gets one of the biggest laughs. Especially the line, she goes, "I don't like the man in the hat," and they're both wearing hats, and it's just she steals it. She's great.
She was priceless. She was just like absolutely priceless. And I just loved it when she kept trying to push the suntan lotion on one of the characters. And I was just like, that is just too much. I was like almost dying I was laughing. I was like, that is so funny.
Yeah, it was fun. Aunt Judy is my favorite character, hands down.
She was so lovely. So I definitely have to mention Nate. He was phenomenal. So I think he hit this one right out of the park. He was so fun, so down to earth, and the wide range of scenes that he had. Like he just nailed the comedic scenes and the emotional scenes. It was just, he was everywhere, but he managed to just pull it off. It was amazing. Um, so how did he feel about that character? Did he portray it just as he envisioned it?
Yeah, I mean, like that Nick Dick has been living inside of him. It's like it's his alter ego. I mean, I I'm so I've known him for a very long time, and when he I'm Nick Dick, and he just becomes like it's just like that's just that guy is just there, and so it wasn't. I don't want to say it wasn't difficult for him to do, um, because it wasn't. He just turns it on. Uh, you know, we shot from April till September of last year. He was ready. I mean, we've been talking about this for so long, and he's had him longer side of him. From improv and just being this guy. I mean, he was even Nick D once for Halloween years ago. So I mean, it's like Elvira and Cassandra Peterson, or Pee Wee Herman and Paul Rubens, or you know, these comedic alter egos. Nick Dick, Nick D, he's just there.
Right.
Nate now says, since we finally made the movie, because he's not talking as loudly to me, which I get. But yeah, that's so many wigs. There was many, many, many wigs.
I noticed that. Well, he did phenomenal, and I was like super impressed. I was like, yeah.
I have to say, I did not recognize him at first with that mop of hair or wig, as you say, and that cheap baseball cap that he wore. I initially did not know it was Nathan Wilson. Of course, I've seen him in Loon Lake and some of your other films, and he was almost unrecognizable. I want to talk, Ansel, about two of my favorite actors who are in this film, both from the Dark Shadows franchise. One is David Selby, the other, Kathryn Leigh Scott. Let's start with David, who, of course, was a cultural phenomenon as Quentin Collins on Dark Shadows. So he's in the film as Nick's dad, and he plays a very goofy character. Seemed like he was having a lot of fun with the role. What did he think of this character?
I mean, this is also. I mean, like I keep saying, we've been talking about this movie for years. When we were shooting Loon Lake, we'd be up till 3 or 4 in the morning drinking beer with David, and we told him about Nick Dick and Nick's dad, and you know, when we were writing it, again, it's like, how did this guy end up in this predicament and the way that he is? And something that was really important for me was to make sure he had a healthy childhood, and he had, because there was always this dad character that was part of the fabric of of Nick Dick's world. Um, and I just didn't want it to be gross, or like he was neglected, or like, anything like that. I'm like, it's gotta be like a happy, healthy relationship. And so we kept discussing it, and he's this ex truck driver who's now married to an ex stripper, who's turning 32, and and they're in love, and they have a really good, happy relationship, and he does anything for her. And he reassured, because when Nick was a porn star and was making really good money, we figured that he helped Nick helped Jim Hatton buy his house, and they have a very healthy father-son relationship. And so we were telling David, and David is pretty game to do whatever crazy curveball I throw at him, very eagerly. And so he, there there wasn't much question that David would or wouldn't do the movie. It was just a matter of whenever we're going to get the thing made. But again, like, I, in the marketing, I was saying, see the Dark Shadows cast as you've never seen them before. So here's David as this, hillbilly truck driver that's just, this guy. I don't know how else to explain it, but some of it, because my family's from the South, so there's certain things that he says and that he does that comes from relatives of mine, and I remember when we were writing it, Nate would question. He's like, "This line doesn't make sense." I'm like, "Trust me, like, this is a Southern thing. Like, you let David. He's from West Virginia. He knows what I'm talking. He knows what this thing is like." So David would do these things, and it was, again, there was a lot that we cut, unfortunately, from David, but he was fantastic. He was funny. He, was the furthest thing from Quentin Collins or Richard Channing or any other role that you can think of that David has played in the past. And we did this scene actually where it was a flashback to the 70s, where he gives young Nick, who's played by Nate's son, my nephew, his sunglasses. So we see where the sunglasses come from, and he's got this, porn star mustache on. He looks like Andy Kaufman's alter ego. I can't remember his name. Oh damn, I can't remember.
Tony something or other.
Yeah. That guy. I
can't remember the last name.
Yeah, but him. And David was just down to have fun, and then he still has this very emotional scene, reminding Nick, to believe in himself and to not give up on his journey through life, because these are older guys. Even Nick himself is an older guy, and it's the movie is ultimately about believing in yourself and not giving up on your dreams, no matter where you're at in life or what the circumstances may appear to be. And so David, imparts this wisdom on him, wearing this furry stripper shawl that he's taken off of his wife while she got drunk. So, it's just another Tuesday night.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I get the feeling when I see David Selby on screen in this film, he doesn't seem to have much intention of retiring anytime soon. It seems like he's got a lot of energy, a lot of passion. He wants to keep going a while. Am I right with that, you think?
Oh, yeah. We were talking last weekend about we're trying to get the Dunwich Horror made, and so we're constantly talking. He has way too much. He says, I feel weird because he's like, David Fincher called me up, but I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, thank you for adding the extra pressure, David. Okay, you're turning down David Fincher to come hang out with us, but I'm flattered. But he wants to keep having fun, and we give him we don't give him his normal David Selby-ish roles.
Yeah. So you want to do a remake of the early 70s movie, The Dunwich Horror?
Not a remake, an adaptation of the story.
Okay.
Original. Yeah.
It's a Lovecraft, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Oh,
wanted
that's
to do that.
fascinating.
11 years old.
Yeah.
So
love to see that. Let's talk a little bit about Kathryn Leigh Scott. She was certainly one of my favorites on the original Dark Shadows. She played one of the real good people on that show, Maggie Evans, who at times becomes a victim. In this film, she plays someone totally different, Helen Zimmerman, who is the head of the talent agency. And at first, she's pretty darn dismissive of Nick D, not impressed by his leopard skin shirt and his long hair and baseball cap. Tell us what she thought about the story and the role.
Yeah, she can't stand Nick. She's, he's come into her office and he's just, thrown it into chaos. But Kathryn, I mean, Kathryn is, I call her my movie mom because like she and I go way back, and she's always like telling me what to do, how to do things right. That's what I should say. And yeah, it's just, I mean, I gave her the script to read, I think again during the pandemic, as just say, hey, this is what we're working on. Here's a piece of writing. And she said it reminded her of Robert Downey Sr.'s early work, like Putney Swope and that kind of thing. Uh, but I mean, there wasn't much of like, what does she think? It's more like, hey, Kathryn, so we're gonna go make this movie. You are the head of a agency, and you know, you want to come along? And she says, yeah. When are you gonna do it? And we had a lot of the discussion with her was really uh, joined with George as Ned, because she's very protective of her son. She's afraid of him growing up. She was afraid of him, leaving the nest. She's got him, he's surrounded, I don't want to sound mean at all, but he's surrounded by all this estrogen in this office. And and she's very, she coddles him, and and then here comes Nick, who just upends everything. And we had some lines. I don't remember if they're still in it or not, but she says, we've talked about this obsession of yours. This isn't healthy. This isn't right. But Ned sees the actor in Nick. It's, yeah, he did porn, but there's an actor in there, and she's incensed by it, um, and so there, yeah, it was funny to watch her do it. But also, again, it's like Kathryn is very also business-like in real life, so there was still, she brought that business quality that was required for Helen. But I know when we did the musical number, she could not keep a straight face, and you see she's laughing uproariously in the musical number. But it was fun, and and it was fun watching her and Olan, spark and trade barbs and stuff like that. Um, but all of them, David Selby obviously has a much more colorful character than her, but everybody is very professional. They are there to do the job, and I'm very lucky that they say yes time and time again to me.
Oh, she was wonderful. I just loved her role, and every time she was kind of like, "I told you so," to to her son. I was like, "I can see that." So, I just thought that was great, and the musical at the end was wonderful. It was such a hoot to sit there and watch that. Um, one more appearance that I would like to bring forward was Lara Parker. She was very beautiful. The end scene with her, her and Nick talking. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how you decided to bring her into the story?
Yeah, I mean, we I knew that Laura wasn't well, and she was sort of done with acting. We'd done, Dark Shadows, Christmas Carol, but I knew that she's up on her mountaintop and was just focusing on family.
Mm,
So there wasn't, and I also, like I keep saying, the script, we had been writing it for over 10 years, so
mm,
the thing was sort of set in stone. And then shooting with Kathryn's like, is Laura in the movie? I'm like, no. And she goes, I think you should get Laura in here. And that's totally cool with me. I mean, yeah, I love Laura. Her and Kathryn and Jerry and Lyndon Childs is who I started with, so
mm.
no problem with having Laura. And so then it just became a question of, all right, well, we've shot like almost 2/3 of the movie. What's what what is her scene going to be, and what do we need to say? And so me and Nate had a couple brief conversations of, okay, well, you know, what do we need to say? And I just wrote the scene between Nick and his former acting coach, Miss Channing, and called Laura up, and she was all excited. And we went up and we shot with her, and it was interesting because she wasn't well. We shot 3 months before she passed,
Hmm.
but she rejuvenated, if that makes sense, during the work. And it's like, the acting, again, it's so weird to explain, but like it's like it made her younger, if that makes any kind of sense. And I remember when we showed up, she said, I'm trying to do the Katharine Hepburn thing. And then like we started doing it, and like that all kind of went out the window, and she just became this other, the character that ends up on screen. But there wasn't any, she was very frail too. There wasn't any fragility or anything like that. She just bloomed. That's how I'll phrase it. She just bloomed. And yeah. And I wish she could have seen it, but I'm happy that she was in it, and it is one of the best scenes in the movie. And yeah, she had fun. She had fun.
I know that Tracy has a couple more questions to ask about the movie, but just wanted to mention this is strictly a coincidence. The day that we're recording, it's October 27th. This is the anniversary of Lara Parker's birthday. She was born on this date, 1938, in Knoxville, Tennessee. She died a little less than a year ago. So there's, just kind of a poignant coincidence there in that this was the anniversary of her birth. Tremendous actress. Not only did a great job in Dark Shadows, but was phenomenal in films like Race for the Devil and Race with the Devil. Other films as well. Had a very fine career. I'm glad that you were able to have her on screen one more time and do something that was really kind of poignant and touching in that final scene. It was great.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, also something that nobody realizes, Laura was so funny. Laura was wickedly funny, and I always say that. But I mean, the zingers that she would even that day, she said some things I can't repeat, but they were like hysterically funny. And so it was nice to see her again in something, as with all of them. Here's something that's so far from the Dark Shadows sphere of it's human, it's comedic. um they're not spouting gothic gobbledygook. Kathryn, when we had our screening in, when was it, January, Kathryn's like, this is maybe Laura's best work ever. So that was humbling. But yeah, she was very, very funny. Very funny.
Oh, you know what, Ansel? This was such a great comedy, and there was so much heart to it. There were so many, really funny scenes, but there were several really great emotional scenes, as well. When Nick was speaking with his father, and the scene that we were just talking about with Laura, like those were so beautiful and so heartwarming. And I can't even imagine what it was like on set and what it was like for you guys shooting those scenes.
Uh, I mean, it was just, I don't want to sound callous, but it was, I mean, you're just like, all right, here we, it's, the job is the job is the job. So we're there to do the job, and do it right. But yeah, I mean, it's not like, even with Laura, there was like, nobody made a thing out of it. It was, she was just as professional, and wanted to make sure her line, she hit her lines and hit her marks and stuff. So it's all, when you're there, whether it's Laura, Kathryn, these young cast members. There's a lot of young cast members on this film.
Mhm.
Whomever, regardless of what it is, we're shooting, or what it is that we're shooting, it's all very technical. It's all about just making sure we get it done within the time allotted, and making sure that it's the best that it can be, especially after talking about this for a decade plus. So it's not like that scene with David. Like it was 11 o'clock at night, and we did it a couple times, and then David's like, I don't know, we didn't get it. We can do it again tomorrow. I'm like, David, we got it. If we didn't get it, we do it again. Are you sure? I'm like, yes, we got it. So yeah, it's just, it's I hate saying that, but that's the truth. It is a job.
Mhm.
And everybody knows that. We're not like all like teary eyed or having moments. I'll cry when I'm trying to edit and I'm hating my life, but other than that, it's all good.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys all did amazing. I really love this film. I thought it was wonderful. I have like one more question about it. Have you and Nate had any discussions about like a follow-up to this film?
Oh yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it for so long that we were thinking, it started out as a series, and
Mhm.
then we said, well, let's just make a film. So we, took season one and, crammed. That's why it was a 3-hour movie.
Mhm.
Crammed it all into one, and we do have ideas for more. There's, I'll tell you, because it's not like a spoiler or anything. We have this idea that in Venice we have the Speedway,
Mhm.
named so because back in the 20s they would have races, and there's the Charlie Chaplin short, the kid at auto races, and that's the Speedway in Venice. So it's basically like a glorified alley, but we've got this whole idea that on the Speedway near Nick's apartment, he's got he's got the Dick Mobile, which is a limo that's all leopard print inside, but it's all broken down and stuff, and it's under a tarp. So it's like the Batmobile, but now if he's gotten an acting role or something and has money to pay, you'd see him yank off this purple tarp, and there'd be the Dick Mobile underneath that he's got to get it repaired. And so we have things, and also there's he goes to a very important audition, and he encounters a rival actor that's kind of a prick, and we think, okay, well, what's up with that? So there's definitely, I mean, there's an outline that exists. A lot of it always depends upon the financial returns of this, and
Mhm.
a lot of work. I mean, it was the longest shoot we've had. It's a lot of money. I am not personally ready to jump right back into more Nick Dick. I'd like to do some other things, and
Right.
we'll see what Nate's mood is.
I look forward to more when you guys are ready.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of different questions, and so it's kind of like more on the technical side. So I was curious, looking back at your previous films, which one do you feel was the most significant for your growth as a filmmaker?
Will and Liz. Will and Liz, definitely. And I would still maybe say that's my favorite.
Mhm.
Just because, I'd come from the thriller horror genre, and I was sick of it. And I wanted to show that I could do more than just that, and to do something, as with this, something human, relatable, and, reality based. And we all know what reality is. And so to mimic is not the word, but to bring reality to life in a film, something that we all know what is like and understands, and to do it uh, seemingly effortlessly, make it look as, as natural as possible, and as genuinely honest, emotionally honest. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
Emotionally honest as possible. That's a real trick. And so Will and Liz was a, a bit of I don't want to call it a turning point, but it's one where I felt like to do that and do that right is not easy to pull off, and so I was very proud that we did pull it off. Because making horror, there's a lot of horror.
Mhm.
You know, cutting somebody's head off. Well, I've seen that and I've done it, and it's fun, and anybody can not. I don't want to say anybody can do it, but like it's done a lot. So doing just a basic, simple little love story that's emotionally honest and true, um, that was a real challenge, and I think we were very successful with that. So yeah,
Oh, wonderful. I still have not seen that, but that is next on my list to watch.
if you enjoy.
So I was also wondering, this has to do with just like independent filmmakers. How do you see the current landscape of independent cinema, and what opportunities or challenges do you see for the future?
I'll try to answer this using as little profanity as possible. Um, the whole, not just independent, but the whole movie making system is broken. Broken financially across the board, by streamers, by these huge companies. I mean, even the studios themselves are dying. You have Amazon and Apple and Netflix and these things, but there's nobody's making money, and because of that, there's far more risks being taken, which is why we are getting these endless. Well, the comic book movies are dying as well, but it's like the endless repeating franchises. And like the other day, they announced they're remaking American Psycho unnecessarily. Why do we need this? Um, but it's very difficult. And now we have AI.
Mm,
So, and I've seen AI uh, examples where it's like they are. I thought it was real. I thought it was actual people and locations and everything. And it's, no, this is AI. So, if some 14-year-old in his parents' basement, does some epic with, a couple clicks of his buttons, and it's like we shot Nick D from April till September and have credit card debt trying to make the movie, it's a bit, also there's no, we don't get paid in streaming. We get pennies in streaming, and it's not just us. Um, the whole thing is broken, and then you have morons, a particular moron, that's running, studios that cancel the projects for tax write-offs, because they have no comprehension of what they're doing, and so it's difficult. That's why I always say to prospective, I'm mentoring a couple young filmmakers now, and
mhm.
I'm like, you better love this. You better have nothing else that you want to do with your life, because this is an awful effing business. But yeah, all that said, I'm trying to make the best of it and keep afloat and keep going, because I don't have any much choice at this point in my life. And I also wouldn't rather be doing anything else. So yeah, that's a
How
full answer, but
how do we best support you guys and other independent filmmakers?
that's where physical media,
Mhm,
DVD, all that really helps. Um, that's why I'm always pushing for my work. Buy it on Blu-ray, buy it on DVD,
mhm,
make a couple more dollars, than we would on streaming. Um, and then I see people say, "Well, I don't have a Blu-ray player or a DVD player," and I think that's stupid. But listen, the flip side, like Oppenheimer, that sold out internationally when it came out, the week it came out on Blu-ray. Couldn't get the Blu-ray the week after it came out because so many
Hmm.
people bought it. So
mhm,
wasting physical media is dying, but that's a lie. I think that when these companies start seeing that they can turn a profit on physical media,
mhm.
they'll pushing it again rather than their subscribers for their platforms.
Right. Oh, that's actually really good. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's excellent. That's good advice. So thank you.
Not to sound self-serving, but I think a way that podcasts like this can help in at least a little way is to have guests on, such as yourself, directors, actors, actresses, writers, behind the scenes people. The more that we can promote these films, especially independent films, which don't necessarily get the attention they deserve, I think that's part of it too. Not to say that that's a solution to an overall broken system, but might help just a little bit.
Oh no, I was just saying it does because especially with independent filmmakers, marketing is everything. Getting, I don't have a PR team, so yeah, I mean that's why I'm always happy to come on and talk to whoever wants to hear me listen.
Very good. So, Ansel, to close things out on this show, we are airing this show, which will debut on Halloween, October 31st. So I thought it'd be great because you're a big fan of horror films, sci-fi films. I thought it'd be great to get your thoughts on some of your most favorite horror films of all time. And you picked five for us. So we're going to get quick hits on each of these. We're going to start with a film that I have not seen. It's from 1933, Supernatural. Tell us more about that one.
Well, also let me make an addendum. I thought these are just my favorite movies to watch on the Halloween season. But if you favorite horror movies of all time, that's a whole other bag. But on that list, Supernatural. It's a movie. It's from 1933 with Carol Lombard. That's finally getting rediscovered. I used to watch the videotape of it growing up. It was directed by Victor Halperin. It was they who made White Zombie with Bela Lugosi. This was his first studio film, so he did it for Paramount. And what it's probably most famous for was Carol Lombard obviously did not. This was not her type of movie, and she said when they were making it, "Who do I have to screw to get off this picture?" So that's a little bit of historical trivia for you. But it's a 1930s pre-code ghost story. She is this socialite. Her twin brother has just died, and there's this con artist, spiritualist that wants to take advantage of them. And at the same time, there was this woman, Ruth Rogen is her character's name. She was I want to call her a female serial killer, but she strangled several people and knew said spiritualist, and her spirit wants revenge, and it's a crazy little pop boiler that finally came out on Blu-ray by Kino Lorber, and finally everybody else is catching up to what I always knew was a good movie. And yeah, I always watch it around Halloween time. It's just 60 minutes of atmospheric fun.
Very good. Carol Lombard, sadly, tragic figure, killed in a plane crash, I believe,
Yeah.
at very young age. Was not even aware that she was in a horror film like Supernatural, 1933. So I've not seen that one, but the other four on your list I have seen. Chronological order, let's take them that way. Next up from 1935, Mark of the Vampire, starring Bela Lugosi and Carol Borland.
Yeah, this I saw. This I'll watch year round. I saw this on TCM in like 1996 or 1997, and did not know that it's a remake of London After Midnight, the famous Lost film. Really didn't know anything about it because I was really young too, and it's very very atmospheric. It's MGM, height of its production values. Todd Browning directing. It's iconography is very famous. With Carol Borland is sort of like the first real vampire, female vampire, um, and it's a murder mystery. It has a twist ending that many people don't like, but if you get past that and just appreciate it's sort of Halloween October vibes. It's a lot of fun, and again, it's also like 60 minutes. But I do love that movie. I watch it year round, and yeah, it's a good movie.
One postscript on that, Lugosi does not play Count Dracula. He plays another vampire called Count Mora, and I believe Carol Borland plays Luna, who I think
Yeah.
is his daughter in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. So, Mark of the Vampire, 1935. Next up is a film from the late 1950s, one of my absolute favorites, Night of the Demon, also known as Curse of the Demon. This is a great one.
Um, I don't remember when I first saw this. I was obviously very aware of it as a kid. Um, yeah, this is a sort of required October watch for me. Um, and it was an influence when I did my film, The Last Case of August T. Harrison, of this guy, Jerry Lacey plays this private detective that finds himself in a supernatural conspiracy. And so I was thinking of this film quite often. Uh, there's things about it that I don't want to say annoy me, but like Dana Andrews just is so like there's a scene where there's clearly he's got these runes that he's been cursed with, so in 7 days he's going to be burned alive by a demon, and the runes are fluttering around, and he's like, it's just the wind, and I'm always yelling back at the TV because he kind of annoys me. But this nobody's ever going to care about this, but my biggest connection to it is there's a neighbor a neighbor there no longer lives on my street, had this cat. His name was Baxter. And every time I see the demon, I just think of Baxter the cat because it looks like it looks like the demon. And Baxter was a very sweet cat, so I'm always like, "Oh, there's Baxter." Whenever I see the demon in the movie, that's like a terrible review I just gave, but it's my own personal subjective opinion. But it's a good movie.
Yeah, I feel bad for poor Baxter.
He was a good cat.
Boy, he better be a good cat for his
He was
looks, right?
he was really big. He was really big and fluffy, and but had this like "don't mess with me" glare, and like the
Yeah.
demon. And I just like it always, even when they lived on the street, I'm like, oh, he looks like the demon in Night of the Demon. He was a good
Yeah.
cat.
You know
Anyway,
who's really great in that movie is Niall McGuinness, who plays the villain. He's the head of the cult.
yeah,
He's fantastic in that film. And I think it's one of those films that's really smart in that it doesn't really give you a full reveal of the demon, the monster, until the very end. There's a very quick peek at it early, but you don't really get the full force of it until the end of the movie. And I think that was a very smart decision. Another really good movie from the early 60s is Burn Witch Burns, starring Peter Weingart. Very good actor, maybe not all that well known nowadays. I believe he's since passed away. But terrific in this one. It's a film that doesn't get a lot of credit, but it's outstanding.
yeah. I usually do it on a double feature with Night of the Demon. It's sort of British occult, black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's based on Fritz Lieber's novel Conjure Wife, which was first adapted as an Inner Sanctum movie, Weird Woman, with Lon Chaney Jr. and Evelyn Ankers and Anne Gwynn, which I saw as a kid. I thought that might have been one of my first Universal monster movies I ever saw. Uh, I like that one too a lot for different reasons. But Burn Witch Burn, um, it's a college tale of all the wives of the professors at the school are all dabbling in witchcraft, and one of them is quite nasty, and his wife, he doesn't believe in it, but his wife Janet Blair has been using all these charms and protection spells until he makes her destroy them, and then all hell breaks loose. And it's a very good uh, British contemporary gothic, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And a good book too. I read the book
Hmm.
last. Good book. It's very. They follows the book very faithfully.
Also known by the alternate title, Night of the Eagle. And there is an eagle in the film. I don't want to say any more because for those who have not seen it, that gives away an important part of the ending. Night of the Eagle, also known as Burn Witch Burn. Then we jump ahead to the late 1970s, an absolute classic, John Carpenter's Halloween. And that is one of your favorites too.
Yeah, I mean, you got to watch that on Halloween. It's like, a no brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's talk about independent filmmaking, but so masterfully made and so effective and so minimal. And I remember seeing it as a kid when I was too young to see it, and ironically not being scared. I think that was when my sister snuck me in to see Halloween H2O. I was really
Yeah.
young, and she said, "Don't tell mom." But I saw it around the same time, and I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine. And but then over the years, I got smart, and I started appreciating what little they had, especially knowing what that's like. What little they had, how they used it, and how they tell a very clean, effective story. And I think it's like 80 minutes. It's very short too.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yeah, you got to watch that on Halloween. I usually do. I'll do Halloween season of The Witch, which nobody else likes. The third film, and then I do Halloween and Halloween 2 back to back, and I just sort of that's my big Halloween night binge. Yeah.
I gotta say, I like Halloween 3 with Tom Atkins. So I'm in that camp that I guess the minority camp that does like the film as well. So the five that Ansel has recommended to watch on Halloween, of course, you can watch it anytime. When you talk about these movies, Supernatural from 1933, Mark of the Vampire, Night of the Demon, Burn Witch Burn, and Halloween from 1978. Hey, we really appreciate your time. The Great Nick D, which is now out, and that will be added to your resume along with Todd Tarantula, Loon Lake, the Doctor Mabuse films, among others. Congratulations, Ansel, on the new film. We hope it does really well for you in terms of DVD sales. Thanks again for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me rant.
Absolutely. Our thanks to our guest, Ansel Faraj, also, of course, to co-host and producer, Tracy Asteria. We thank Tracy. We thank all of you for listening and watching as well, for joining us in this Museum of the Macabre. And we hope to see you again next time, right here in the Ghostly Gallery.